Coming up, a top 10 list, and not the Letterman kind. It's the NTSB's Most Wanted. Is GA back in their sights?
Go inside a flying hospital. We show you how Orbis is changing lives.
And a stole competition in the land of hobbits. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
There are many important things to consider before purchasing an aircraft. Let the experts at Aerospace Reports help guide you through the process. We combine expert knowledge with our long-standing commitment to personalized customer service to perfect your transaction. Learn more at aerospacereports.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
For the first time in 8 years, we're off the list, and that's a good thing.
It certainly is, Melissa. It's the National Transportation Safety Board's list of the 10 most wanted safety improvements, and general aviation is no longer in the spotlight. So why the change in emphasis from the NTSB?
One of the questions that was asked is, where do you want to put the focus and so forth, and you saw us put a lot of focus onto highway and surface transportation. We're following what's known as Sutton's Law, which is Willie Sutton, the bank robber, said, go where the money is. Okay, well, the same thing, I think, applies to transportation safety.
Since the NTSB first started its 10 most wanted list back in 2011, general aviation has been on it. And honestly, a lot of pilots thought the focus was unfair, since there are more accidents and fatalities in other transportation modes. So now that GA is off the list, does that mean there's nothing more we can do to improve?
As far as general aviation is concerned, we know what the problems are, we know how to solve them, and we know how to prevent them, and we should be doing that. And organizations like Air Safety Institute and GAMA and the manufacturers and AOPA should be continuing those education things, and we continue to look to the FAA to give us some reasonable safety regulation, so we're not dealing with the perfect being the enemy of the good, and I think that they're starting to get that message.
But that doesn't mean that there were no safety recommendations applying to GA. Several of the board's most wanted improvements are things that do affect your flying safety, like
reduce fatigue-related accidents. It's estimated that fatigue played a role in 90,000 highway crashes in 2015, but the NTSB has investigated accidents in all transportation modes that involve fatigue.
And something that can create fatigue: obstructive sleep apnea. The NTSB wants vehicle operators tested for that.
Until there's such screening and treatment for operators, people will continue to die because of obstructive sleep apnea.
Distractions are killing people, and the NTSB has investigated accidents where pilots were paying more attention to their smartphones than they're flying.
Multitasking does what? Two things. It makes you stupid, one, and it makes you dangerous, two. And again, as the chairman has mentioned, we don't make these numbers up. These are factual, evidence-based recommendations.
And the board recommended that Part 135 charter operations be held to the same standards as Part 121 airline ops.
We feel that a paying passenger should have the same level of safety as they would if they were to go get on a commercial airliner.
Now, Melissa, as you know, the NTSB can't force changes. They only make recommendations. But the board hopes that by publicizing their 10 most wanted list, they can get the public and Congress to force or put pressure on the regulatory agencies to change. And there's some things in there that people are going to have heartburn with.
Oh yes, some of the distracted driving suggestions certainly are going to cause some heartburn, I think. It's good to see the list change and not have GA singled out. It never made sense to me when you consider the other modes of transportation and the safety numbers and the number of accidents versus the number of accidents for GA and our ever improving safety record.
And that's true. We have seen a significant improvement in GA safety over the last decade or so.
But good list.
Indeed.
So imagine this, you're flying this weekend, your route programmed into the GPS, the autopilot coupled into the nav system, and all of a sudden, you lose navigation, the autopilot uncouples, and all of a sudden you're thinking Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? That could happen anywhere in the Southeast from now through the end of Sunday. That's because a military training exercise will include GPS jamming.
So the GPS interference events is having the impact that's intended, and it is denying service to aircraft. When they fly through an area that's stated to be affected, not all aircraft will be affected, but a number are usually, and it can affect everything from navigation, surveillance with ADSB, flight controls that are integrated with GPS, avionics, such as some avionics have integrated GPS. So it's a wide range of impacts, and so every operator should be aware of specifically how GPS is used in that airframe.
AOPA has been working this on many fronts to fix this threat to aviation safety, especially important since so much now depends on GPS, but
the military is very open. They're increasing their testing, and the FAA has their head in the ground and are not taking the steps they need to take.
Now, if you are flying in an area that's been notamed for GPS interference and you suspect it's affecting your safety of flight, here's what you should do.
If interference occurs, that does affect the safety of the aircraft. They should say stop buzzer over the frequency, whether to air traffic control over the emergency frequency 121.5, and declare stop buzzer, and declare you're having a safety of flight issue, and that will immediately stop the GPS interference.
So stop buzzer might sound like a new phrase. Certainly it's a new use, and we are very frustrated with this issue. I will tell you, Warren, we have worked this issue for a couple of years.
Well, it's been at least 3, I think.
Yes, and the number of tests are increasing, and I want to say they're important tests. I mean, these are important tests that the military needs to do, so we're not saying don't do the testing. What we're saying is they need to mitigate the impact, and we actually co-chaired an RTCA working group that came up with a set of mitigations that are supported across the industry. They were submitted to the FAA a year ago, and we haven't had any movement on them, so that's why we continue to kind of publicize this issue, and we are concerned that pilots don't have the tools in their toolbox to address this, and so that's hence the stop buzzer phrase.
Well, and it's not only pilots, but it's ATC as we become to rely more and more on ADSB out for separation. That's getting messed up too.
Yes, but I'm confident we'll solve it.
Okay, I'm sure you guys will. Well, a female aviation pioneer has flown west. Captain Rosemary Mariner died on January 24th at age 65. Now, she paved the way for women pilots in the military. She was in the Navy's first flight training class for women, and after graduating, she became the first female pilot to fly attack jets and later the first to command an operational naval air squadron. In a fitting tribute, Captain Mariner was honored with another first for the Navy, an all-female flyover. 9 women F-18 fighter pilots flew a missing person formation over the cemetery, and they said they were honored to do it.
It's just a really huge honor to recognize a woman who blazed a trail, who didn't have anyone that went forward to show her the way, and then to say thank you for opening that door for us and creating a way for women to serve their country and serve in combat.
And we say goodbye to another female aviator who served her country. Women Air Force service pilot Jane Doyle died last week at the age of 97. You may remember Jane from a story we did at AirVenture in 2017. Jane went on a flight in a BT-13 that was restored to honor the WASPs. Jane and other WASPs set the stage for female aviators of the future as they courageously flew all types of military aircraft on a variety of missions during World War II. Jane's lifelong passion for flight was evident to all. So blue skies to Jane.
It's winter time in the northern hemisphere, but down under, they're enjoying the summer sun. This video is from the 2019 New Zealand Bush Pilot Championships. Pilot Nick Hobart shooting this video, showing some of the STOL takeoffs and landings in the competition. Proof that bush flying is popular the world over. AOPA will have a STOL Invitational at each of our fly-ins this year. Well, coming up after the break, go inside a Flying Eye hospital.
And kicking off the Red Bull Air Race season, we'll be right back.
Purchasing your own aircraft is an exciting experience. AOPA Finance simplifies the process, saving you money with lower interest rates and hassle-free loans, so you get into your new aircraft sooner. AOPA Finance, the right approach to buying an aircraft.
Welcome back. We frequently talk about how general aviation can change lives. This week, one jumbo-sized example of that. Tom Haynes shows us a teaching hospital self-contained in a DC-10.
So then they come on the airplane. They do cataract surgery in both eyes the next day. They put them up in the laser room. They put them facing each other. Their father's there. They take off the patches. They see their father. They see their best friend. And it really changed our lives forever.
This Mammoth MD-10 is a life changer for the people who come to her and the people who fly with her.
Well, as a pilot, the most rewarding thing is getting to fly this one-of-a-kind airplane. As a volunteer, seeing someone regain their sight is just an unbelievable experience.
This is Orbis One, a fully self-contained flying eye hospital with one of the most advanced surgical suites available. Her mission? To bring first world eye care to developing countries. But more importantly,
we are actually a teaching facility. So instead of going in and doing multiple eye surgeries, we actually teach. We work with the local communities within these countries to bring ophthalmology and the teaching philosophy. So this airplane has a classroom in it. They can see live training, whether they're getting the hands-on training or not, just as if they were looking through the surgery themselves. We can data link that off to other locations. And now with the internet, we even can have somebody in a country that maybe we can't get to, and they can be watching us live on the internet, and they can even send us a text message to one of our surgeons that's doing a live surgery and actually be able to text a question and get an answer live over the internet.
Orbis One started life as a DC-10 airliner, then converted to a FedEx cargo hauler. FedEx upgraded it to an MD-10 and eventually donated it to Orbis. The Orbis team designed palletized plug-and-play operating and recovery rooms for it that can be loaded through the massive cargo door. And when Orbis One lands, she's totally self-sufficient. Generators run on Jet A, self-contained oxygen generators, and water purification system. If the runway can handle the jumbo jet, the community gets the benefits of a modern teaching hospital.
We have to carry the spare parts for the aircraft, whether it's tires or a TCAS computer or whatever is required for flight in case it breaks. We have to have the spares. We got 3 snap-on toolboxes down there full of aircraft tools. We have some LD3s full of spare parts. So yeah, you have to think about what could happen.
He's a surgeon.
Everything we do is free of charge to whoever we're supporting.
The human element is absolutely amazing to see someone's life change. You know, we take vision and take medical procedures so much for granted in the States, but some of these countries it's almost a death knell to have a vision problem. You're a complete drain on the family and the village, so it's really a life changer for these people. So it's pretty amazing.
Getting to do this as a volunteer job, it's just the perfect dream volunteer job for a pilot.
And AOPA members get the exclusive opportunity to tour the MD-10 on March 2nd at Moffett Field in California. Check out the website for all the details. Tom Haynes, AOPA Live.
Well, February is Black History Month, and aviation has certainly been impacted by aviators of color. On our YouTube channel, we dive into the history of some of the contributions and accomplishments of black people to flying. There's a rich history.
Bessie Coleman in the 1920s decided that she wanted to learn how to fly, but no one in the United States would train her. And her quote was, "I refuse to take no for an answer."
So Bessie learned French and went to France and studied under World War I pilots. She became the first African-American woman to earn her pilot's license.
And what people don't know about Bessie Coleman is she also studied aircraft engineering with Anthony Fokker. I think that's a name that a lot of aviation people recognize.
You can find the video on the AOPA Live channel on YouTube. Just search Black Aviators. The Red Bull Air Race kicks off again this weekend in Abu Dhabi. Last year, AOPA Ambassador Mike Goulian performed extremely well. He ended the season in 3rd place. We talked to Mike this week about how he's preparing for the race this year.
You know, as I think back upon last year, there was a lot of magic there. So we just have to try to put our foot in the same steps we did last year. Maybe a couple of times a little bit better than we did last year, and maybe we'll have we'll be at the top at the end. You know, it's anybody's game. We were riding a wave last year. We hope we can find that wave again this year, and because it really is, it's all about momentum. It's all about confidence. You have to have that swagger in the whole team to do well and be able to fly with confidence and go out there and fly really fast times in a very consistent manner. So that's kind of the goal.
And we'll let you know how Mike does next week.
A new face in the Red Bull Air Race Challenger Cup. Sammy Mason is from Santa Paula, California. He's made a name for himself at a young age in aerobatic competition. This season, he's realized his longtime goal of becoming a Red Bull Air Race pilot. His first competition is the one this weekend.
And something new from the AOPA Air Safety Institute, a new in-person seminar on how backcountry flying techniques can apply to your flying.
We've recruited some real backcountry, some honest-to-goodness real backcountry pilots, and they're able to take their backcountry techniques and relate them to the way we fly in what you might call the front country.
Peaks to Pavement will be presented throughout the country this year. You can find a seminar near you on the Air Safety Institute's website.
And for your listening edification, the Air Safety Institute has a new podcast. Imagine a complete electrical failure at night. How would you handle it? In this latest episode of the There I Was podcast series, we hear what happened when everything suddenly went dark in a 1958 Bonanza.
And I heard the gear motor start running, and it probably ran for 3-4 seconds, somewhere in there. And all of a sudden, it stopped, and there was darkness around me.
You can find that podcast on our website. Click on News and Videos, and then Podcasts.
Finally this week, does the FAA have some inside scoop from the Justice Department? A friend of ours recently pointed out that Robert Mueller is awfully close to prohibited Area 40. Now that's the airspace that protects Camp David. Well, it turns out it's just a coincidence. The two waypoints were established in 1999, long before Robert Mueller was a national public figure. But if you've spent any time in the IFR system, you know that there are a lot of waypoint and intersection names that can make you think or make you smile. Like eating tuna sandwich near Pensacola, and the hold point is Mayo. Or spicy barbecue ribs near Kansas City. So what are your favorite waypoint names? Why don't you send them to us at aopalive@aopa.org.
Sounds like a tasty waypoint in Kansas.
Indeed. And there are a lot of fun ones too. And there's some that are important to us here at Frederick, like Runway 5, Phil B defends GA for former President Phil Boyer, and another waypoint, Shuey, for our good friend Marty Shuey.
Marty Shuey, I got my start with Marty. He did what I do at AOPA many years ago.
Yeah, I hope he's enjoying his retirement.
Exactly.
And that does it for this week. We thank you so much for watching.
And we'll see you next week.